Good afternoon and good evening, and wherever you are in the world, whether you're listening in audio or you're actually watching us two really handsome guys in this world. So my name is Jason Cooper. I'm your host, and I've got a really special guest today, which I'll introduce to you in a moment. So welcome to my number one of my very new series, the Global Sales Leader podcast. So I'm your host. I deliver sales strategist. I'm a sales coach. I help deliver better results by sales training coaching. So today is really about insightful leaders that can give something else. And really, we're going to give a lot more today than some wonderful value. So really, it's about helping all people and organizations and giving some really cool golden breadcrumbs and some really wonderful tips or whatever to help you do more in your life and in your sales and whatever you're doing. So welcome my very special guest, Tom Ziglar, by the way.
Well, Jason, it's good to be here. And I feel like I know you already, even though we just met because of all the mutual friends we have. So I just honored you invited me on and looking forward to our time.
Well, the honor is all mine, actually. So I've been so looking forward to this all day. I've told the kids to switch off the devices and put them away in different parts of the house, so they're away. But, you know, if they come in, they come in. Add more value to this podcast. So, you know, you actually have been given a really wonderful gift from such a young age. Like most people listening to this will know of your father. He's given you a gift. And as a legacy to carry on the extraordinary work that he did. But, you know, you take everything into your own context and you built it into your own way of doing things. Obviously, you've grown and learned along the way from your wonderful father that everyone knows. And but it's really about you today. So the Ziggler legacy does live on. And it does live on in yourself, and you've done an extremely wonderful job with that. You produced some wonderful books, and just behind me, I printed off because my copy's in Audible, so I listened to it, and I've downloaded the PDF. Choose to Win, and we'd love to speak about that. Look, there's lots and tons of things that we could say about you, but rather than me saying about wonderful things about you, what about yourself? Tell me about. Describe to me what you actually do. How did you get to the point of where you are now?
Okay, so I'll give you the 90-second version.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, of course, my father, Zig Ziglar, he passed away just about 8 years ago. In college, I thought I was going to be a professional golfer. I played college golf and then traveled, never turned pro, but I traveled for a year playing the big amateurs and realized how good they are. And during that time, I was working in the company to support my golf habit. And then I went full-time in the company at Ziggler. And this is at the height of Dad's career, speaking and writing. And, of course, he had the book See at the Top and Secrets of Closing the Sale. And, you know, there was a 30-year stretch where he averaged 30 live events a year where there was more than 12,000 people in the room. I mean, this was kind of the golden age. And I kind of rose up through the ranks as working in the warehouse, working in production, and then in sales, and then sales management and leadership, and then finally as the CEO. And it was really built around Dad and his personality and that combination. We call it the bootstrapper, the person who understands that if I'm going to be successful, that's a choice that I have to make, and it's going to depend on me. And so our clients, our customers were primarily entrepreneurs, business owners, and sales professionals. We did a lot of work in big business as well, but it was really the people who believe that mindset and integrity were really the keys to building a sustaining career. When Dad passed away, we suddenly had this business with this great brand, but the personality that drove it is not able to do that anymore. And just like so many listeners know, when you try to be something you're not, it just doesn't work very well.
Yeah, exactly.
And so unfortunately, I was educated on that and knew that. And so we started to recreate the company, not to continue to support the group of people who love that material. It's still available at Ziggler. But now our focus is really about equipping, transforming, motivating, and supporting people who are dedicated to building a legacy, coaches, trainers, and speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And so now when you think about Ziggler, we have over 300 certified trainers around the world. We have over 300 coaches around the world who take our material and go out and make a difference in their own community. And so that's kind of what my life is about, is helping them be successful. And it's as tough as the last, since I guess February of this year has been.
Yeah.
It's just been a time of opportunity for us. We have reached so many people because I believe now people are ready and open to stepping into their purpose, what it is they really want to do, because, life is uncertain. And I call them the kind of the steel-plated handcuffs that we all put on ourselves and say, well, this is the job that I have. I might as well be happy because there's nothing else out there. And then when all of that gets threatened, you start thinking about your purpose and why you're here. And that's really been an opportunity for us to go and serve those people.
So what did you do specifically to really sort of pivot in sort of February, March time? You must have done something. You went, well, damn, we can't do that anymore, so we have to do this. So what was the thing that you did that was like that big change?
So one of it was, of course, I believe God had his hand in this, but for 5 years prior to this, we've been bringing people into Dallas to our headquarters, and we spend a week with them or half a week, and we certify them to go teach our stuff.
Yeah.
And people kept saying, I love that. It's, it's an experience you can't compare to anything else. But do you have anything online? Is there anything that we could learn online that could allow us to do something?
Mm-hmm.
And so in November of last year, the first time ever, we came out with the Choose to Win coaching system, which is everything is online. So we teach, people are licensed, and we teach a live series of classes. There's Q&A, everything's recorded. And then at the end, they are licensed to go and be a Choose to Win coach. And we have a massive support program where we help them market. If they have a prospect, we will get on the phone with them and kind of demonstrate and lead the call to help them gain a client, and they get 100% of that.
Wow.
And so we did that the first time in November of last year, and it sold out immediately. And then we launched another one in January. That one sold out immediately. And then the pandemic hit. Mm-hmm. And guess what? The only thing you could do was online. And so we're on class 7 now. We've had to add classes this year, and we've sold them all out. So it's been just an amazing thing. So that, I wish I could say I knew, that I could look into the future and say, this is why we did it. It was, I think, grace. And then the other thing that we did is we've still been selling and reaching out for our certification program. And in June, we had our very first one of those online. And so we pivoted. So instead of 3.5 days in class, we did 4 full days online. And we did it as a bonus. So everybody who came through that online experience, as soon as the travel restrictions lift, and it's, the COVID thing kind of gets in the rearview mirror, they're going to be able to come to that face-to-face experience. So we didn't replace one for the other. What we did is we did a bonus. So we added that to that. And then the other pivot that we did is we have 5 courses that we certify our trainers to teach. And we digitized all of those courses. We made them all digital manuals that you could edit and write into. Mm-hmm. And then we took all of our PowerPoints and updated them. And we did it to where you could teach all of those in a webinar format. So we quickly adjusted to where all of our trainers who were doing face-to-face could do the same thing via Zoom or any other online technology. And so those were the two big pivots that we did. We were close to that anyway, but we just took it up a notch when it happened. And so we were able to get all that out to everybody in May.
That's really awesome. It's good that you're thinking on your feet like that, because you have to. And so what lessons did you learn, and what lessons could you teach professionals, sales professionals and sales leaders to change the way that you have done in such a quick time and adapted? There's a lot of stragglers behind there, but what did you do specifically just to went, bang, this is what we're going to do, and react very quickly?
Well, there's two things. When this hit in March, the very 1st of April, I wrote an ebook, and it's free. It's a free digital download. Jason, I'll give it to you so you can send it out to all your listeners, or however you want to handle it. And it's called Stronger. And the idea of the ebook is, what is the mindset that I need to have in this time? And so I was thinking of all the Zig Ziglar quotes. What would be the quote that Dad would give to people right now? And here's the quote: expect the best, prepare for the worst, maximize what comes. So as a sales professional, the first thing that you've got to do is you've got to own your mindset. You've got to determine in advance how you're going to think, what you're going to believe, how you're going to respond to whatever comes. And so that first line of expect the best is huge, because I believe that we create the future we see.
I totally and utterly agree. And it is so true. You visualize what you want to see, and you got to see it almost in the future as if it's present as well. So that's a really cool gift. And what else other things did you do?
So what that mindset does is then allows you. So here's a tip specifically for salespeople. I mean, this is the mindset tip that follows that. I call this the 3 buckets to the right mindset. So in bucket number 1, I want you to write down every asset that you have, every skill, every experience, every gift, every talent, all the things that make you uniquely you, all the things. If you're own a business, you can include the business and all the assets. If you're a sales manager, you can start looking at your people and their different skill sets, and you can put all of that in, okay? That's who you are today. The second one is this. The second bucket is write down all of the relationships that you currently have or have had in the past. And also you can, when you think about this, it can be personal, it can be family, it can be business. And so now you've got all your skills and you've got all your relationships. And then the third bucket is you write down, and this is from a business, I'm doing this from a business perspective. Write down all the relationships you want to have in the future. And so some of them you've already written down, you're going to do it again, but others might be, gosh, I'd like to have that account, or I'd love to work with that person. You write their name there, okay? And then you ask yourself this question: what problems are the relationships that I want to have? What problems are they facing today? And how can I be a solution to that? Awesome. And that's really as simple as it gets. So one of my mentors, his name is Rabbi Daniel Lappin. He says this: when we solve a problem, we're often rewarded with a certificate of appreciation. We call that money. Yep. Right. And then he says this: God is never happier with his children than when they're solving the problems of his other children. And what happens in a crisis or a pandemic or a black swan is people get laser focused on the problem and they spiral downhill. Oh no, what's going to happen next? I can't believe we locked down again. I can't believe I can't do that. I can't believe, for me, I had a pity party because we're in the event business. Guess what's not happening? Live events.
Yeah, exactly.
And so this is my purpose statement. Okay. So I started feeling sorry for myself because I had 5 speaking engagements cancel on the same day. And the events that we were going to have, we couldn't do. And I was like, my goodness, what's life going to be about now? We're not having these events. And then I realized I'm not in the event business. I'm in the life-changing business. And there's a difference. And so then we get focused on, well, what problems are people having?
Mm-hmm.
And when you start focusing on the problems that other people are having and then figure out how you can be the solution, now you've moved from problem to solution. And that's where it gets exciting. That's where hope comes in. And so we create the right mindset, number one. Number two is we get focused on the problems we can solve. And then we get busy solving those problems. Because in military terms, there's a lot of problems out there, which means it's a target-rich environment.
That's really good. I love that 3 buckets analogy that you said. That's a really simplistic way of understanding how to do that. And the relationship building is really cool. A guy that I interviewed a while back called Ted Rubin spoke about return on relationship rather than return on investment. So that's a really good, and you're exactly in the same place there, which is really wonderful. So how would you perceive the characteristics of successful sales leaders now in this pandemic time? How can they pivot up to the next level? I know you've given us some things, but I'm sure there's some other golden nuggets there.
Yeah. There's a quote behind me that's the kind of the Ziggler quote of all, which is, you can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. And so the examples I gave you is just living that quote out. There's a thing that I like to say, I call it the bridge to purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we all want to have purpose in our life. And most people that I come across haven't really dug into what's the purpose of my life. Why am I here? What's my why? What are my dreams and goals? What's my vision? But bigger than that, what's my purpose? And so whatever you do in business, in sales, what is your purpose in life? And sales may just be the vehicle to help you achieve your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. Your purpose could be a legacy to take care of your family. It could be to be a difference maker in the lives of enough people to make a difference in the world. I mean, there's all kinds of things. But when you get crystal clear on your purpose, then as a sales professional, in the book Choose to Win, it's on page 180, I talk about IPAs, which are called income producing activities. And what I recommend as salespeople is we identify the income producing activities that help us grow our sales. And that could be, a face-to-face meeting. It could be a phone meeting. It could be a proposal being created. It could be all these different things. And you give a point value to each one of them. So a social media post might be 1 point, right? Mm-hmm. A Zoom meeting with the board that's going to make a decision, that could be 20 points. A phone conversation, discovery call could be 5 points. And the idea is that every day you earn 100 points, because when you know what your goal is and you know the activities to get there, the key is we do it whether we feel like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the problem. The problem is that if we don't have a clearly defined purpose or why, and life hits us over the head with a 2x4, then it's easy to spiral down and get discouraged. And so the reason you do those activities isn't to hit your sales quota. The reason you do those activities is when you're successful in those activities by doing them, it gets you closer to your purpose. And that's where you pull out the picture of your family or, the dream house that you want or whatever else that it is. And so what we like to teach is that you have to link the purpose, the dream, the why to the daily things that you have to do. Because if you lose sight of it, life can just be overwhelming.
Yeah, I was going to actually, while you're saying that, I was thinking a lot of salespeople, it's not necessarily the money, it's what money can actually give you, but success means lots of things to different people. It could be the success of winning that trophy within, or being number one within the league table, or whatever it might be, or buying your daughter that dream gift, or whatever it might be. So it's all different to lots of. What did yours? What does success look like for you, Tom? Because I'm intrigued by that. It's a question I was thinking of.
Yeah. So I have a couple of mission statements. So my purpose, I'm going to give you my purpose and my mission statement, and then that will help you understand.
Yeah.
So my purpose is to have a vibrant relationship with God, to be a conduit for his glory, and to leave a legacy that will ripple through eternity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's my big. Now my mission is to create the atmosphere that allows you to become the person that God created you to become. And that's me. That's where I come from. Now, if you're not a believer, you probably heard that same thing. I could say my mission is to create the atmosphere that allows you to become the best person possible, mm-hmm. right? So it's kind of that same thing. So this is so Dad has a definition of success, which I love. Success is the maximum utilization of the abilities that God gave you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we never compare our success to other people because they've got different experiences, different gifts, different talents, different personality. It's how do I maximize? Now, in our culture, which is a results-based culture, right? Dad said this, the number one cause of a poor self-image is the lack of unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where people struggle. It's because I have to do something in order to be loved. I have to do something in order to have value. And I'm here to tell you, no, you have value just for being you, right? You are a human created, I believe, for a purpose, and that gives you value. And so then, if you've ever studied the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset.
Yeah, hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, powerful, powerful work. And I love it because Dad was teaching that in the 60s and 70s. And then she comes along and does all this research that validates it. But basically it says a fixed mindset person says, this is who I am. I can't change. I'm going to focus on things that come easy to me. If it's hard, I'm going to quit, right? Mm-hmm. A growth mindset says, man, I just love learning. I just love growing. And so the more difficult the challenge, the more excited they get, and they see everything as an opportunity. Okay, so now let's look at the time we're in right now. This is for salespeople. Massive change. In the US alone, there are 60 million hours a day that are no longer being used for commute time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. About 5 to 10% of the US was work from home before this, went to nearly 60%. Even when everything goes back, it's probably going to end up around 25 to 35% are going to remain remote first. So here's a key word for the listener. You're going to start hearing remote first more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean? It means that organizations and companies are going to have a mindset shift to where they're going to build their organization to support remote first people. Because if they do that, then the ones who work in the office are taken care of.
Yeah, yeah.
If you work on the ones who are in the office first, then you might leave behind some of the concerns, which is advancement and, and relationships and those kind of things. So what does this mean for a top performing salesperson? It means that you can work from anywhere in the world for anyone in the world.
Yeah.
The digital nomad is growing by leaps and bounds. So what's going to win in the future? A disciplined, self-motivated top performer who gravitates to learning and growing everything that's new and loves the change, because every change allows them to separate from the pack. Guess what? The world is your oyster now. You can work for any company anywhere in the world, master the skills of the combination of online and face-to-face. And that's what I'm excited. And the same thing is happening in the training world. And it has really taken off in the coaching world. The huge need for coaches right now are coaches who can coach leaders how to coach their people.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a massive area, because I think for the leaders, I think they now have to learn how to communicate remotely to their staff and allow that element of being sociable as well, because we're missing that human interaction as well. Like, it's good to talk to you virtually, but I'd rather see you and shake your hand. But how are they going to get over that little hurdle, and how can they communicate more effectively to their staff to get them motivated, get them up, and given the gift of that wonderful mindset that you spoke of?
So I'm gonna do some comparisons. Okay, so the first one is a question, and I want everybody just to answer this question. You're listening. Does a top performer prefer to be told what to do, or do they prefer to be asked what they think is the best way to accomplish it?
Of course, yeah. It goes without saying, yeah.
It's really simple. And so when we think of traditional leadership, top-down, hierarchical, command and control, do it because I said so, there's, and I'm writing this in the book that I'm working on, they're kind of identified in my book as the charismatic teller. Okay. Mm-hmm. They're good with office politics. They're pretty good relationally. They might be more of a driver personality, you know, in the DISC profile, we call them, you know, kind of bottom line, you know, and they tell people what to do. Mm-hmm. That style does not work in a Zoom world. It doesn't work. No, if you're telling somebody over a camera, do this, the people who are watching on your team are a little bit lonely, a little bit disengaged, a little bit afraid. And if they're a top performer, you're hitting all the hot buttons that they don't like. Okay?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So who wins in this? It's the collaborative doer. And the collaborative doer is a leader who is humbly confident. They're confident in their skills, but they're humble to know that they don't know everything. And so they're open to asking the questions. And so the way you lead in sales or in leadership online is through powerful questions. And ultimately, those questions lead to great relationships. And the best relationships of all are when, as a leader, you know the purpose, the dreams, the goals, the ambitions of the people on your team. So, Jason, if I know that your dream is to travel 6 months of the year, as a leader, what if I said to you, I want to help you do that?
Yeah, you make yourself feel really good. And yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't you like that? And you would be like, well, I would love that. And I would say, well, let's figure out how that's possible. It's like, I love this question for all the sales managers out there. This is a great question to ask your people. 2020 or 21 is coming up. So you sit down one-on-one and you say, hey, I appreciate you sticking it out. It's been a crazy year. We didn't know what was going to happen. You're part of the team. You improvised. I just got a question. In 2021, do you want to make more money, less money, or the same money? What are they going to say?
Yeah, they're going to obviously go, we want to do more. We want to do better, of course.
You know what? I want to pay you more money. Yeah. I really do. So let's figure out, how can we do that? What is it that you can contribute that would allow me to pay you more money? Right. And so the people on your team start telling you, and then you say, okay, well, what attitudes do you need to have? What character qualities do you need to have that this just becomes who you are? Okay, what skills and knowledge do you need to acquire, and what effort do you need to, produce in order to make that happen? And you phrase it all in questions. You don't tell them what to do.
You make them feel more empowered about everything, and you give them the ideas, because the best ideas don't necessarily come from you. Like, it comes from your people and your people's people. So that is a wonderful gift that you can give. Could you give me a one insightful thing as as one of the many other golden breadcrumbs that you give and golden nuggets that you've given so far? One thing that will just go bang, I'm going to do that tomorrow. That's the thing that I'm going to do right now. To all of those people that are listening, you've given everything. You've given so much already, but just the one last tip that you can give someone that will just go, wow.
I call this the why behind the why. And this will work in a sales situation. It'll work if you're developing somebody on your team. It can work in anything. And I'm going to give an example that happened to us. A number of years ago, we were working with a company, and we were going to go in and do sales training for them. And so the VP of sales was there, and it was a big ticket. It was over 100,000 is what the project was going to be. And I said, if we install this and we develop your people, what would be the result that you would want? And he said, oh, well, I would hope we would hit our quota. And I said, and he said, because if we hit our quota, then that'll pay for the training and the investment. And I said, great. So here's the why question. Why is that important to you? And he said, well, if we hit our quota this year, then we'll all keep our jobs. We'll be perfectly positioned for the next year. We'll already know this information, and we'll be able to hit our quota again next year. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, why is that important to you? And he said, well, then I'll be able to pay off all my debt. So now it switched from company to personal, right? And I said, well, why is paying off your debt important? And he said, because then I can build my lake house. But I didn't stop. I said, why is that important? And he said, because then my grandkids can come and play at the lake house with me.
Awesome. So you really dig deep into that.
Yes. And so that's the thing, is we give up quick, right? We only ask, we only say, tell me more one time when we should be saying it 5 times. We only ask them why once or twice when it should be 5 times. So when somebody on your team or your client, when their facial expression, when their body language, when the tone of their voice, when their eyes look up into the future, that's when you've tapped into what it is that they really want. And so now you have a choice to make. Can you help them solve the problems that will get them what they want? So here's what's cool about building a team around this idea is when you know someone's dream and they know you're going to help them get it, people suddenly work for a dream instead of a paycheck.
Of course. Absolutely wonderful. That is absolutely incredible. I absolutely love that story. Something I was going to ask you, I put on the ticker below, and the people that are listening obviously can't see that. So I put down your book, Choose to Win. I've heard it twice, and I printed out the PDF, and I've gone through the workshop. Could you tell me a little bit more about that as we go? There was the Wheel of Life, which is on the front page. It's the 7 steps for the will to life?
Yes. And so the book, Choose to Win, the subtitle is Transform Your Life One Simple Choice at a Time. And kind of the anchor quote of the book it says this: the fastest way to success is to replace bad habits with good habits. And so the first part of the book is about discovering your why, which we've talked a lot about.
Yeah.
And then we have 7 chapters that cover each of the 7 spokes on the wheel of life: the mental, the spiritual, the physical, the family, the financial, the personal, and the career. And the idea is real simple. You look at one spoke of the wheel, let's just say the mental, and you identify a bad habit that you have. Maybe you watch the news too much, and you decide to replace it with the good habit. Oh, well, I'm going to put on an Audible book that's going to build my skills personally or professionally, right? And so what have you just done? You've made a little tiny change of maybe cutting the news back from an hour to 15 minutes a day, and then filling that 45 minutes with the good, the clean, the pure, the powerful, and the positive. And in almost no time at all, with no findings, something else to do, right? Because you were wasting the time watching the TV or listening to the radio. You change your life. And then you do that in every spoke of the wheel. You do it in your physical, you do it in your sales, you do it in every area. Kind of studying the Old Testament, it talks about, it never just says do good. It always says stop sinning and do good. Yeah. In finances, if we want to get financially healthy, you got to stop digging the hole and then start making good financial decisions. Well, our life is the same way. We got to stop the bad habits and then put in the good habits.
Mm-hmm. That is absolutely wonderful. I thank you so much. You have, they're saying a legacy. Your father did so wonderfully well in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s. I think you have jumped forward and grabbed him on your shoulders, and you're leading the way now under your own skin of Mr. Tom Ziglar. Like, you have a wonderful father and a wonderful legacy, but now it's yours that you've taken forward. And I think that you've done an incredible job here. And I think where you're going to hand it down and the legacy to your son or daughter is going to be the next stage going forward, taking on what you've done and all the wonderful work where you pivoted forward online and everything that you've done. So if I could, I'll tap you on the shoulder and go, well done for what you've done. So Tom, how can actually people find out more about you?
Well, the best place is at our website, which is Ziggler.com. And if you listen to this and you got a question, you can just email me, Tom@Ziggler.com. So I'm kind of weird. I give out my email.
That's good. Other people give their telephone numbers out, but your emails is awesome as well. And that ebook, I'll take that and I will gift that forward in the show notes and when I push it out on social, if that's okay with yourself, because I think that'd be great.
That's what it's for.
So again, this was my very first The Global Sales Leader, and you've done it 100% justice. There's no such thing as 200%. You've hit the mark at 100% and you peaked in all areas. So I thank you on that, and I wish you all the very best success.
All right, thank you.